Okay, so my name is Binil. I'm an associate professor at the North Carolina State University, Raleigh, North Carolina. My background, I guess my educational background is bachelor's and PhD in mechanical engineering. I did 7 years of research at the University of Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, and then I moved to North Carolina State last year. What we work on is sort of create production machines for 3D printed constructs for drug screening, for regenerative medicine, for any applications that require the use of stem cells in regenerative medicine combined within tissue culture surfaces.
Excellent. Okay. Great. Can you please tell us what is 3D bioprinting?
3D bioprinting. All right. Everyone must have heard of 3D printing. So 3D printing is a technology that allows you to create 3D structures layer by layer, directly driven by a digital file. Right. So if you have a digital file, designers design it, take it onto a 3D printing machine, and you actually produce it. Bioprinting is now doing that with cells. Cells are involved in your manufacturing system, and you can create 3D constructs on a flat substrate, again driven by a digital file. So you can imagine a digital file with cells all placed in XYZ orientations, and you have this printing machine that physically translates that digital file over to a printed construct. The bio comes from the biological bio. I don't have to use cells. I can use cells, I can use plant cells, viruses, bacteria, proteins, growth factors, or any biological driven material through a printing machine. And that would, the fact that 3D, you can create a 3D structure out of it. So 3D bioprinting in some sense. Okay.
That's great. So Binil, can you please tell us what are some of the top challenges the industry is facing today that these technologies hold promise for?
So one of the biggest challenge that you would probably see Dr. Rob Bolin talk about is the extensive amount of time it takes for drugs to come out to the market because of the complexities of the diseases and so on. So, a challenge, so one way to address this speed at which you can bring a drug out is make sure that the initial set of data you can fail early enough, and then you don't waste 7 years before you end up failing. So if you can fail early, you can then invest more time into other drugs. Now technologies like this in 3D printing, you can now create a physical structure that is almost human body-like. And that way you're getting a physical sense of how these drugs would interact in the human body. You don't have to use animal cells, you can actually use live human cells and then actually test out your potential new drug candidate. You don't have to use animals per se, you can do this right before the animal, so it's still in 3D, it's beyond 2D. In some sense you can get a sense of how your drugs would interact. Now another beautiful aspect of 3D bioprinting is that you can do multiple cells, you can do multiple materials all interacting in a 3D sense. So which means now you're not really looking at, okay, how is my drug candidate looking at one cell type? I can look at both vascular as well as liver at the same time, as opposed to looking at it two different studies. So I can save a lot of time by doing it that way. And the physiology, our human physiology is so complex. How do you replicate that in a laboratory scale? And I think technologies like this is how we could potentially do it, as long as we can produce them in large quantities, cheap enough, reliable enough, so that every single construct that you produce falls within standards, and then you can get the data out of it very well. Okay.
Great. I guess maybe two more quick questions.
Yeah.
Where do you see this technology 5 years from now?
From now. Well, right now we can say the basic science has been proven. We can print cells, we can produce three-dimensional tissue. In 5 years, I would expect companies to sort of take it to the production level scale, meaning that it's not done in laboratories anymore. A company could go and say, go through a web browser, pull up this web platform where I can say, well, I need cell type A, cell type B in this 3D orientation, hit the order button, it goes out to this company that rapidly produces, let's say, 100 quantities of that 3D construct, and then have it shipped over in 5 years. And so potentially it makes it easier for pharmaceutical companies to not worry about how it's made, but rather look at the effects of the drug and the pharmacokinetics from it. In 5 years, I think that's completely feasible, as long as there is investment made into the productions of these things. The science is proven. The question is, do it at a production level that is relatively cheap enough to be afforded by everybody.
Excellent, great. It's very, very interesting. Just have one last question for you, Binil, please.
Yep.
Why are these types of meetings important?
What is meeting? Well, see, I think the challenge in the economy is the problems are challenging, right? When the problems are challenging and you have multidisciplinary aspects come in, you need perspectives from the government, you need perspectives from the industry, you need perspectives from academia. And I think this forum provides this ability where everybody can come together and at least start the dialogue going, hey, what are your problems? What are my problems? I need this sort of data. Could you get me this data that I need? And in return, I'll give you another set of data that may potentially be useful for you. And I think proximity is important. You cannot work across borders. You have to come together, talk. It may be slow at start, but hopefully over time this will build. And I think if you can show value right up within the first 2 years, and it's just going to roller coaster over to the next few problems.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these solutions for these industry problems are at the ends of all the silos.
Exactly. It's at the ends of the silos, and it's at the interfaces of these silos. And so, as one of the keynote talk, you got to speak the same language. At least get the language going. And also a big part of that is the newer generation is more open to such problems. And I think, as the new group of scientists and engineers come in, and business folks even come in together, realize that it cannot be in silos anymore. Right, and so that social interaction that kids of today are so accustomed to is just going to roll over, and it's going to see it pretty much in the industry very soon. That government, industries, academia, they all need to come together. Models of collaboration needs to be looked upon once again in terms of how you can leverage benefits, advantages of each other. There is no point in learning everything that someone else has already done. Use their knowledge, and in return I give you my knowledge to sort of better improve both of us in our own respect.
Excellent.
Thank you, Frank.